Top of the morning. Yo! Good morning. What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good one. I guess this afternoon when it drops, but either way, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. In case I don't see you, shout out the Truman Show. But I was at the store last night. Got out of work. Wanted to hit Meijer. Had to pick up a few things from the local grocer. So bugged my roommate and said, "Hey, let's hop in the car. Let's hit the store." We're walking around. It's getting to that time of year. I keep talking about it. Summertime. Looking forward to it. And one of the things I'm looking forward to is camping this summer. As I've talked about some of the trips and stuff I've been on before. Usually make like an annual camping trip up north to the Manistee. I like the northwest part of Michigan. We'll go to Manistee, Traverse City area, Torch Lake. Somewhere up in that area. Spend a day up in Traverse, hit Sleeping Bear Dune and whatnot. Fun time. But either way, we were just browsing around in Meijer, just seeing the little different goods in the sporting section and whatnot that they have. Start taking a look at fishing poles. They have like the whole wall. You like go around one wall and it's like all the bicycles. You turn the corner, the other wall has like all of the fishing gear and equipment. And was thinking about how I used to go fishing as a kid. Lived near a lake, grew up near a lake, and I enjoyed fishing. I think fishing though, as I've gotten older, I think fishing is kind of like an interesting sport. Especially like the lore behind like fishermen and such, like going off by themselves in these boats to catch these fish and whatnot. Or I don't know. I think they're really some gay fish fuckers. And what I mean by that is fish don't have teeth. Like not all of them at least. And if you think about like the shape and like motion of a fish's mouth when it's out of water, is that I mean, hey, who's out there to stop them? You know what I mean? It's like at least what's hopefully stopping someone from like putting some peanut butter on themselves and like letting the dog lick it off is like the shame of like having to like look that creature in the eye every day afterwards, knowing what you did. Like that's just crazy and wild. Like if you're able to do that, like you're a sick fuck. But like a fish, like you could just like you catch it in the water, you unhook it, and then just throw it right back in the water. It's not like you ever have to see it again and shit like that. It's just, I don't know. I think there's some shady shit going on with fishermen. You know what I mean? Like, they're looking for fish like the size of their hand. I mean, what's something else you do with your hand? I don't know, man. I think that there's some shady shit going on with the fishermen. Like literally, like you're always like bragging about like, oh yeah, fish like bigger than it really was. You know what I mean? But this was. You see like the correlations of like some of these activities, some of these like lies and such. I think there's some shady shit going on the waters with those fishermen. I mean, like I said, the fish's shape of its mouth and the motion it makes, it's just you're staring at it and it's just, I don't know, man. I feel bad like hooking the fish. You know what I mean? Like I never even like touching the fish as a kid with my hands or like even hooking the worm. Oh, when the worm would like kind of like cringe up, it'd dry out a little bit, and you could like feel like the wrinkles and stuff on its like its. Ugh. You could feel the wrinkles on its skin. It's always weirded me out. Always grossed me out. But I was never like the most manly man growing up, and even still now, obviously. So either way, but fishing, man, fun time out there. Either way, my dad talks about maybe going charter fishing out on the Great Lakes sometimes, and I think that's pretty fun. It sounds pretty fun, at least. I've never done it, but I mean, you see, like the size. I never realized how big tuna was. Like you see, tuna in a can, the star-kissed can that you see. But then, I don't know if anyone's ever seen that show Wicked Tuna that used to be on History Channel. They go out and like, I guess like to me, tuna in that can, I never thought like, oh yeah, you can be a predator. That seemed very like prey-esque, like very prey behavior to just be tuna in a can. Also, it's like white. I guess I don't know. I don't like it. Not my thing. But the tuna on Wicked Tuna are like 800 pounds. They're these like behemoths that take like hours to reel in, and apparently they're like some of the top predators in the ocean, like on the food chain. Like if a tuna is able to get, I think, up to a certain size and like reach a certain level of maturity, it has become this type of like alpha status in the ocean where there's not many other things that are like big enough to really fuck with it. I might be wrong, probably am, but like either way, like tuna are just interesting. Like I said, like it's so because it can be so small. Like they are a they can just be like such a normal sized animal, but yet again, like they can like the massive scale in which they can grow to. The Atlantic bluefin tuna can reach up to 13 feet and weigh over 2,000 pounds. But other tuna species can range significantly smaller. Pacific tuna up to there's like up to 1,200 pounds, and like 5 to 10 feet in length. Ranging. So, but again, some smaller tunas that are only like 40 to 180 centimeters, which I want to say is like less than 2 feet because it's like 2.54 centimeters to every 1 inch. That's the metric scale conversion rate to the imperial measurement system, which, mind you, like I said, I rep the red, white, and blue. I sing the Star Spangled Banner for karaoke. However, we are not without our faults. The imperial measurement system is inferior to the metric measurement system. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The simplicity of operating in the tens, the conversion rate from kilo to gram to milligram to decigram to decagram, like these are all the different types of conversions that take place in the different weight scales of measurement in the metric system. But just like again, like vastly more simple, and again, like everyone else in the whole world uses that. So we overcomplicate things by adding in the different calculations, and some of it doesn't even really make sense. I think I talked about him yesterday too. Nate Bargatze's SNL appearance where he does the George Washington skit, whatever, is hilarious because they talk about, he's like, I have a dream where we have this country with its own system of weights and measures. We have 2,000 pounds will be a ton. And say, well, what would we call 1,000 pounds? He's like, nothing. There is no name for that. And it's like, it seems like there should be, and it's like, yeah, but there isn't. And so it's just, again, a little bit of like, taking a joke too seriously, but yeah, not really taking it that seriously, just kind of like enjoying the logic behind it. And like, to me, that's what makes it so funny. It's just the correctness in the statement. Like obviously it's like it is inaccurate, but at the same time, if you like break it down, just using logic, like it just, you'd think that someone would be able to see what's going on and just see like, hey, either way, tuna are huge, and the ocean is a very mysterious place. It's kind of frightening, honestly. It's more intimidating. I'm more scared of the ocean than I am of outer space, and I think that we know less about the ocean than we claim to do about outer space, which I find interesting because like that's something that's a part of our planet rather than like outer space, which is, we just look up and see. I don't know. I feel like if aliens were to exist, the ocean might be the place where they might reside. And uh, why not? The ocean, it's just it's so big. I like I don't the Earth is 70% water, and most of the land masses on the globe exist in the northern hemisphere, which just makes me wonder what is in the water in the southern hemisphere in the South Pacific. There is such like a large just chunk of the globe with nothing but the ocean. There's some small islands and stuff in between, but it's so difficult to try to traverse. It's almost impossible to try to map all of that, but it's at the same time like it's got to be fascinating to try to discover, because unlike the universe, which is supposed to be infinite and endless, like there is only so much Earth. Like there is a way you could, in theory, map all of the globe. Like think about how you have these like macro scale views of like the galaxy, and it's like with a little arrow pointing like this is the Milky Way galaxy, inside of the solar system, inside, or this is our solar system inside of the entire galaxy, like like zoomed out and zoomed out and zoomed out. What if you could do that with the planet that we lived on? When that seems so much cooler than in theory, just looking out and stuff that like you'll never see. In a way, you can like it's hard, or at least I don't know. I have a hard time conceptualizing it. Like, wouldn't it be so cool to have like an interactive globe that you could like zoom in on and zoom in on and like zoom in on, and eventually you're going underneath the water in the ocean, or like in a lake, like in the Great Lakes or something like that. Like, wouldn't it be so cool to be able to explore the depths and see what all is like, even at the bottom, like even if it's just one time, like one view, like a passing image, like Google Street View. Still, that's cool. Obviously, like you might get a couple of images of some wildlife in there, but it's it's near impossible. Like you get down to like certain depths where like there's just no light, and it'd be impossible to like create a light that would penetrate and illuminate a large enough area to give you a good scale. Maybe I don't even know if like night vision would work in that instance. That's a great question. Would night vision work in the absence of light? Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, obviously, like when it goes dark, but there's still like a little bit of light out from the uh the shadow of the sun behind the moon, or behind like the other side of the earth and whatnot. I That's a that's a really good question, actually. I don't know, something to look at. Respect to it. Like I said, a little bit intimidated by it. Intimidated with some of the creatures in it. Octopus are so fascinating, and if like I know we were talking about tuna a minute ago. I think if like you were like to give me a different biome, like the ocean, and then even if you wanted to go like expanding further, like like the coastal, the deep water, and then you wanted to expand it to like dry grasslands, like tundra, wetlands, jungle, all that. Like just choosing like the different animals like you'd want to be like in each biome. Like I think it'd be tough pressed not to go with like an octopus or something of that ilk in the ocean. They're so intelligent. They're so interesting. They have like they're almost like shapeless in the way that like they can fit into a hole the size of like a 50-cent piece, although the creature itself could be like 5 feet, and like 50 pounds. It's insane the way they can contort and manipulate their body. It has multiple brains as well. Like each appendage, it's almost like its own independent being, and then you have like the main like body of like like the rest of it, like that it's just they're creepy. They're smart as hell. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like I'll see it on Facebook every once in a while scrolling. People have like octopus as pets, and they'll like escape from their aquariums and their tanks. And it happens not just like pets, but like you have to like be mindful of it in actual like aquariums and like larger aquatic escapes. So the octopus, man, it's such a fascinating creature, and yeah, I mean, I guess like although I don't know how you'd shape into like an aquatic being, I'm imagining in my head like Animorph style. I don't know if like anyone's ever familiar with those books of the Animorphs. It was like a series, and I never read them, but I used to see them all the time in the library growing up in elementary school, where it'd be like a child, like the main character, and they would slowly morph from like human to whatever animal they were. Like for example, like imagine like like the evolution of man, where it goes from like chimp or like ape to man, but like in reverse, and it goes from like human to like horse, like human to zebra, something like that. And it's like obviously I don't know what the premise of the books would be. I'm imagining like they turn into like this animal and then are like some hero figure. Who knows? I never read them, but either way, interesting nonetheless. And like I said, if, an octopus would be an interesting animal to anamorph into. I think that's like, uh, it'd be like a fun like top three, bottom three, idea of like, obviously like we here at Woodward, they're just like there's like top 10 lists, there's top fives, there's different types of like rankings and stuff that like people like to do. I think we'll do. I think we're gonna end up just incorporating top three, bottom three into the lounge. Get like a little bit of that Hannah Montana mix in there, mix it all together, get the best of both worlds. Speaking of books, though, from childhood and growing up, we had this author come to our school, which was like pretty badass, actually. I think it was like fifth or sixth grade. Jonathan Rand, author of the Michigan Chillers and American Chillers uh, novel series or fictional book series. I'm not exactly sure how it would be classified exactly. I don't read as much as I should anymore, but the books, the Michigan Chillers, are all based around different cities in Michigan, and are involving like these like supernatural uh, stories. Like for example, Mayhem on Mackinac Island is the first book, I believe, in the series. There's Gargoyles of Gaylord, which I read, and I read a few books in the series. Like Great Lakes Ghost Ships is another one. The Gargoyles of Gaylord is the one that like I'm remembering the most right now, and it takes place in Gaylord, Michigan, which is up north in like the more northern central part of the Lower Peninsula. And there's these gargoyle statues, and like at night they like come alive and are causing mayhem and havoc and such. And there's like the main character has to figure out what's going on and like solve it and like fix conflict resolution. Like you understand how like plot works. But anyway, the book series, they travel around like different cities, and it's not like traveling around overseas. It's like different characters in different areas. It's just the setting, and you kind of get like through the title, you get an idea of like the place and the problem that we're going to be dealing with, and then through the rest of the story, you get to meet the characters and everyone else, and like the how the conflict unfolds and the resolution to it. I can't remember how many books there are because he's been writing these for a while, and like I've been out of school for, honestly, I'm coming up on my 10-year high school reunion in a year, which is nuts to think about. But so even going back further, it's from when I like was reading books like that, 15, 12 years. I don't know. Shameful to say, but the American Chiller series, this one, pretty sick. The Michigan Chillers, I was always hoping he'd have a book for Jackson, and maybe one day he will. It's my hometown. Shout out Jackson, Michigan. But The American Chillers, that one bounces state to state. And he obviously is from Michigan, so book one starts in Michigan. Book two, I think, is Ohio. Three is Florida. Four is New York. Five is might be where you lose me. I think it's like Texas, but um, we'll see. I don't know. We can look it up later. Either way, the similar premise where it's like you have like the state, and then it's like this supernatural like like entity creature blah 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 that is like an issue, a problem, and maybe it isn't necessarily like across like the whole state. Maybe it's just like in a specific region again, but you're kind of just taking the whole state to as like a broader like this is where it's going to be, and then you can kind of narrow it down from there in the lens. You just kind of keep zooming in, similar to how we want to do with that Earth that we were talking about. But the I remember like fifth or sixth grade, Jonathan Rand came to our school and spoke to us, signed copies of our books. We were able to buy books from him, and they were like freshly printed. They had like I don't know if any of them were like special edition, but they looked cooler. They looked like glossier, and it just the lore and the hype, like the way we got sucked in. It was so cool to have this like guy here and this celebrity, in a way, and it super fun. I like honestly like if I ever have kids one day, I wouldn't mind like diving back in and like indulging in those books. It's like, hey, I used to read these. These were really fun. Like I think like I wish I would have read more and been pushed to read more. The biggest trophy I ever received in life uh, was in second grade, and I received it for reading. I had the third most accelerated reading points in the grade or the class. I think it was the grade though. In second grade, I think the other two guys were in my class as well. I think Tavy and Gaddy might have been in Miss Talis's class, who Miss Talis actually passed away like 3 years later when she got stung by a bee in her home garden. R.I.P. Miss Talis. But Donnie Berkeypile, I believe, was in my same class. It might have been reversed where I was in the same class as Tavian and Donnie was in the other class when we were both in Miss Miller, and the other was in Miss Talis's class. But I remember as Tavian, Gaddy, Donnie Berkeypile, two really good friends from growing up, and they both had more reading points than me, but we all got some really cool big trophies, and that's the biggest trophy I ever got. I think it's funny as hell that like my like it was for a reading. It was in second grade. Like that was that was like the peak achievement that I ever fucking earned yet. That's that cracked me up, and I like thinking back on that. And I hope that I haven't seen Tavian in a couple of years, like 2 years, and I haven't seen Donnie in even longer. But hopefully I run into them one time, and we can just crack a joke and laugh about like if they remember getting those trophies for accelerated read, man. AR points, man. That's so funny. You just like, read these books. How it works is like you'd read a book, and it'd have like a grade level correlated to it, and then based on like the difficulty and the length of the book, it would be worth like so many points. And you would take a comprehension quiz at the end of the book to determine how many points you got, and depending on your how you finished and scored on the quiz would determine how many of the points you received. And it was just an accumulation of those over a month, I think I want to say, or maybe over the course of a year. So I want to say I ended up with like 88 points or something like that. But fun time. I never remember we'd like try to cheat the system and like just take quizzes for books we had not read, and just like guessing on them and stuff like that. You'd get like 30% and stuff like that. It'd be so bad. But funny times, man. I think back to that. I remember I was in fourth grade. We were going to the movies. I always have had a better taste in like film and television than the rest of my family, and I don't care if they um, disagree with that. It's the truth. I went to college for it actually too. So if they want to argue with me about it, they can kiss my degree. But we used to rent movies and stuff from Blockbuster a lot, and like they'd always just pick out like some like trashier films. But we always enjoyed some of like the picks and previews of my choosing. I'd like to follow the box offices and see what was hot and what was not, and just what looked good based on like just my own interpretations of what I enjoyed and like the content I had consumed growing up and grown to appreciate and enjoy. So I I definitely like to being able to showcase like that, like flex that ability a little bit. I loved like being able to like go on a Friday night, go to Blockbuster after mom and dad, like after mom got home from work, get in the car with mom and dad. We all go pick out some movies, and the movie we watched, the movie that everyone kind of consensus seemed to enjoy the most, always ended up being what I like to pick out, and so yeah, I say that like it happened all the time. I really keep thinking back to like one specific instance where I picked out the movie Death at a Funeral, and I can't remember what else they picked out, but it was two vastly different movies, and like we laughed and cried and like cried tears of laughter from Death at a Funeral just the first time watching that, and I think we watched it like 2 or 3 times that weekend. Even it was just a fun time. So I forgot where I was going with the beginning of the story, but either way, we've been rambling about. Oh, I remember now. JB,
Shout out.
my guy. We're talking about Miss Miller. We're in 4th grade. We're going to go see the movie Blades of Glory, and I was so excited to see it. It looked hilarious, and we're in line to get our tickets, and out walks my 2nd grade teacher, Miss Miller, and she talks to my parents. Their parents were very involved in my schooling and stuff growing up, and she's talking to us. She's like, "Oh, what are you guys gonna go see?" I'm like, "Oh, Blades of Glory." And she's like, "Oh, I just saw this." She's like, I wouldn't recommend that. Like, they're a little too young for that. I was 10. My sister, a year and a half younger than me. She's 8.5, 9. And so, on Miss Miller's recommendation, we see Are We Done Yet? The sequel to Are We There Yet? And these were like the two movies we were like debating on going to see. I was vehemently against Are We Done Yet? And everyone was all gung ho for Blades of Glory. We get in line. We're like 2 people away from being able to buy our tickets. Miss Miller fucking pulls the plug, just completely, just euthanized our experience, and we had to go see Are We Done Yet? And I sat in that theater, pissed off, pouty pants. I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. I had the fucking grimace on my face, like that fucking fat purple fuck from McDonald's, man. I was angry. I was pissed. Fuck the raccoons in that movie tearing up the house. That movie sucks too. If you've seen it, you know, and if you like it, fuck you. Oh man, I love Miss Miller. I love all my teachers from growing up and such, except for a handful. Like, shout out. Yeah, I did not like you, Miss Higdon Scott from 8th grade. Openly, and don't care. We got married on 11/11/11. I hope that marriage turns out fine and you get to live a happy life. But I did not enjoy your class, and I did not enjoy you in 8th grade. But outside of that, don't mind any of my other teachers. Miss Miller, just that's the one beef I have with you, Miss Miller. Like you ruined that experience. And Blades of Glory is such a funny movie. I think it's one of Will Ferrell's most underrated films that came out just before Step Brothers. And if you've seen Step Brothers, if you love it as much as I do, you can see the influence and the bits and pieces Will Ferrell takes from other characters and brings them into his other films. The song that he sings at the end of Step Brothers, Porti Volare. That's the song that not Greg McElroy, that's the old Alabama quarterback, but Jimmy McElroy from Blades of Glory dances to at the very, very beginning of Blades of Glory. So you just, like I said, you just see like the Easter eggs, the way they like just build off of it and stuff like that. So honestly, if you're someone who likes film and likes, character, like character development, or like, just that type of like creation, just see take a look at some of your favorite actors and some of their different roles and the way they borrow from those. I mean, like I said, you can see through through all of like Will Ferrell's characters. I mean, Chaz Michael Michaels, he plays a guy named Chaz who's a very similar like personality in Wedding Crashers. I mean, again, like I said, just the way that like they build off and borrow from each other. But either way, my guy JB is in here. Don't want to keep him waiting from getting on the computer and doing what he's got to do. So thanks for tapping in. Another episode of the Chase Lounge. We'll see you alligators later.